Welcome back to the Journey to the FarLands. All right. Let's see, got a bunch of stuff here. Looks like I'm all right there. Time to exit the stage out of here. Make sure there's nothing nasty about. Close off yon entryway with dirt. Because if I should ever find myself in there, I want to actually be able to get out without a pickaxe. Yeah. All right, moving onwards to the FarLands. And that's this away. All right, well, here we are, the 23rd of February, 2019, and this is the 514th Minecraft day since beginning this journey from spawn all that time ago, and the 170th episode. All right. Okay. Proceeding on with the normal routine. Let's see. The size of the world this morning is 6,261.82 megabytes. Getting onwards there. And that's cool. And let's see, there are a whole mess of questions to deal with, and I'm going to try to address as much of that as I can. And so what I've done is I've picked out a bunch of things that I can, I hope, manage to give shorter, quicker, well, briefer answers to, and address a whole bunch of things that way. And so, let's see. I thought that bit of reeds over there, I thought that was a creeper when I first saw it. Terrible. Anyway, let's see. The first item, let's see. Maxine Herper says, my only question would be, how's it going, Chef? If you still collect questions. I always collect questions. And how's it going? Not bad, actually. Shut up, cow. Yeah. Doing pretty good. Well, good for me. Not so good for the cow, but, well, you know how that is. They are annoying, and they are loud, and they want to make noise when I'm talking, and that's rude. So, yeah, okay. Moving onwards here. Let's see. Ben Payne says, your hair's looking good. Did you get a haircut, or have you just styled it? I didn't get a haircut. I haven't had a haircut in actually years. Like 5 or 6 years now, probably. And I didn't style it or anything. I may have recently washed it or something like that. And there was also a good while there where I was just in a kind of a place where I didn't pay any attention to grooming, like combing hair and brushing beard and stuff like that. And I'm doing a lot better in that regard now, so that might be what you've noticed. It wouldn't surprise me a bit. I sometimes get like that, and there's no real reason for it, I suppose, but yeah. Okay, next up, Jennifer Hart says, I watched some of your older videos, and you seem to have the name Selif. What was that name from? Okay, the channel that I refer to as the gaming channel was originally created with that username. That's Selif, S-E-L-I-F. And the reason for it was because I was making the channel for something. I didn't have much at all, if anything, of a clue about a name or handle or whatever you want to call it. I've never been really great at coming up with that sort of thing. It's like if I'm writing a story, some of the hardest parts for the story is coming up with names for the characters. You know, it's really always been kind of difficult for me. So when I created that, I couldn't think of anything. And so I took the word files and spelled it backwards. Not the first time I've used that particular dodge, but it worked. Unfortunately, when I made that channel originally, it didn't have anything to do with gaming or having any kind of a consistent YouTube personality or anything like that. I didn't know about such things back then. And so I just had my usual frustrated fuss with trying to come up with a name for the channel. So I took a word that I use all the time and spelled it backwards, and that was it. This is a kind of thing that I've done that before, and I may end up doing it again someday. But yeah, that's basically pretty much what that was all about. And it was mostly what I guess you would call it a creative block, except the creativity that was blocked was the part that comes up with names. Never been all that great with that. Never been really great with names in any respect. Coming up with them, remembering them, you know, all kinds of things like that. Okay, let's see. Next up, Potato.exe says, "Hey TFC, what are your favorite superheroes? Batman is my favorite." Okay, well, that's cool. Batman is cool. I remember watching the Batman TV show. This was in the about 1966, when there was a Batman TV series. It ran for, I think, 3 seasons, and it had Adam West as Batman. I remember watching that when I was a kid. As for favorite superhero types, I have mostly been, in terms of comic books and comic book characters, I have mostly been a Marvel guy for most of my life. And I think my all-time favorite, you know, I like a lot of the characters. They're pretty good ones. And there are some good stories involved and so on. But I think probably my all-time favorite has probably got to be Spider-Man. Because he was, you see, back when I was a kid, most of the comic book characters, the heroes were always these #1 perfect characters. You know, they never did anything wrong. They never made mistakes. You know, and they would just totally stand up, perfect, always right people. Which was okay. I mean, I never saw anything wrong with it until I ran into the character of Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man's civilian alter ego, Peter Parker, he wasn't like all the rest of these. He had faults. He did stuff wrong. He made mistakes. He got selfish and ended up paying for it. and so on. You know, he was a guy with faults. He had sometimes some of the most terrible luck, and a lot of times, even if he was winning as Spider-Man, as Peter Parker, he was just having one loser day after another. And it made him more real. Or, well, really, I mean, aside from the whole mutated because of the radioactive spider bite to have those powers and whatnot, and all of what he could do and so on. But the fact that he had faults and problems and terrible luck, and most of the time didn't have a whole lot of money and so on, you know, he's doing the Spider-Man thing, saving people, trying to help and doing good things, and he ends up having to take a job working for the one guy in the city that hates him the most, that hates the Spider-Man character the most, at least. And he's taking pictures of Spider-Man, of himself as Spider-Man, and selling them to the one guy that hates Spider-Man more than anybody else in the city. You know, that sounds kind of like a thing that you really wouldn't want to do if you had any other option, but he didn't have much at all in the way of options. And throughout the whole run of Spider-Man, he's continued to be that way. He has real problems, issues, stuff going wrong, and things not working the way they're even almost supposed to, and so on. And come on, yeah. And I don't know, the humanity of that character, I think, is something that made him a lot more real, and that was really good. And so he's probably the big favorite. Well, he is the big favorite. And then you've got guys like Iron Man, who after this reality thing, the realism or real world problems and faults and whatnot thing made it big with Spider-Man. Marvel started doing it with more comic book characters, and I suppose DC probably did too. But I never followed a whole lot of DC stuff. I mean, I'm familiar with some of their characters, but, you know, I'd have to spend a lot of time reading a wiki to know a whole lot about what they did. And, yeah. And so probably mostly those two, with honorable mention that could go to, I don't know, a dozen more. I have no idea. But I hope that's something of an answer. Let's see. There was another one that didn't quite fit into the brief answer kind of thing, but it's a fair question. Let me get clear here. And address that. Let's see. I have to look at my notepad file. Dee Dee Christensen says, TFC, you spoke of your wife. May I ask you what caused your wife to get sick and die? If you don't want to answer, I'll understand. Well, I don't mind answering it. You know, it's been a long time ago. As a matter of fact, 10 years ago now. Because I didn't realize it had been that long. But it has. In November of 2008, she was at the store, and coming out and getting into the car, she slipped and fell on some ice in the parking lot. And that caused a problem with her leg. She developed a problem with cellulitis, I believe it was. And it got worse and worse, and it hurt a lot, and ended up having to go into the hospital to get it taken care of because it wasn't really getting better at home and so on. And I went in with her. I stayed there with her and so on. And basically what they did for a week, well, for several weeks actually, is that every 2 or 3 days, I think it was, they were doing some procedures, taking her into surgery to clean and debride the wound, basically to get dead skin and whatnot out of there and get it all cleaned out and so on. And this went on for like most of December of that year. And right close to the end of December, oops, I need to make another boat. Having been there with her for like 3 weeks or more, a little over 3 weeks, I think. Let me get these made. And after all that time in there, she wasn't ready to leave the hospital yet, but having been there with her all that time myself, I needed to. I hadn't been sleeping very much at all, and what little sleep I did get was really not very useful. And on top of that, I had to go home and I had to wash some clothes and stuff like that, and oh, for crying out loud. Okay, fine. Maybe I can clear this. But, so I ended up having to leave for a few days. And then when I got home, I was sick myself. I was down with the flu, and, well, it was worse than that, because not only was it the flu, and I was very busy throwing up all over the place, there was also some genuine uber ugliness that involved projectile diarrhea, or explosive diarrhea, whatever. It was really, really bad. I mean, you have one of those days where it just gets after you so bad that well, it was ugly, we'll put it that way. And I'll just leave it at that. It was ugly. And so after about 3 days, I was beginning to recover. And it was the 31st of January. I spoke to her on the phone that morning. And was informed that she was going to be coming home in a couple of days. The doctor was going to release her to send her home, because everything was good, plenty satisfied with progress, on the leg, and yeah. And then that afternoon, I got a phone call. The person calling was one of the nurses on the floor. And what they told me was that she had fallen. And they were getting geared up. They were getting ready to move her to ICU because during that fall, she stopped breathing and all this wonderful stuff. And then about 15 or 20 minutes later, I got another phone call. And you know how it is when you get a phone call from a hospital and the voice on the other end says, "I am Dr. So-and-so," you know that it's not good news. You know, it is never a good thing when the doctor calls you. Never. And that's when I was informed that, oh, come on, mouse. That's when I was informed that she had passed. And by my best guess, she actually never even made it all the way to ICU. What had happened was, she was feeling good, in a good mood, and recovering, actually getting up and going to the throne and all that without help and all that good stuff, which was great. And she was coming back from such a trip when she slipped and fell. And they got orderlies in there to help her up and all that. And she's actually joking around with them and, you know, all embarrassed about having fallen and having needed these guys to help her up and so forth. And as that was going on, that's when she stopped breathing. And as far as I can tell, she never started up again. Of course, I wasn't there at the time. You know, like I said, I had been homesick myself. But that was it. It was a complete surprise. Nobody expected that. But yeah, there you go. And let's just say life was fun for a while after that. Using fun in a sarcastic sense. So, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And, yeah. All right. I'm going to move on. Let's see. Cheeseburger Fans asks, what is your current weight loss strategy? Well, the main part of it is centered around trying to keep the carbohydrates low. Because I have found by experience, by tracking my carbohydrates and calories and so on, that if you keep the carbohydrates down, the calories will fall right into place. And this is pretty much always true. And that by doing that, weight loss is just a natural byproduct of all that. All right, another boat. And what I'm doing right now is I try to keep the carbohydrates below 150 per day. And a side goal is to also keep the calories below 1,800 per day. And I am tracking these things on a daily basis. And also I weigh myself every day. Although, interestingly enough, I haven't done it yet today. I have to do that when I finish recording this. And, well, let's see. One thing that I'm doing these days is I've made an adjustment to how I'm looking at these numbers. Because from day to day, there are fluctuations. You know, things might be a little high today, and then tomorrow they might be a little low, and so on. So what I decided to do is I have set up a thing that, in a spreadsheet that I put in the numbers for each day, and the spreadsheet calculates the running 7-day average, the average for the last 7 days. And my thought there is that this average, what it does is it smooths out those fluctuations and gets me more of an overall look at how I'm doing. And I think mostly it's working. It's just that once in a while I have little issues where I might have high days 3 or 4 days in a row, and that sends the average up, and or maybe I'll just get to where I just have to have this or that thing that ordinarily, when I'm trying seriously about weight loss, that would be something that I wouldn't have. But I get this, I want something I want, and I'm going to have it kind of mood, you know? Of course, that kind of mood has been the detriment of weight loss programs all the world over. But it happens. And there ain't a whole lot you can do about it. Shut up, cow. Okay, it looks like when I get across the ice, I'm going to need to start looking for a place to dig in for the end of episode hidey hole. And fortunately, there is some terrain forming not too far away where I can do that. Excuse me. That one kind of jumped right out there without me having much warning on it. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, I think I need to keep going for a little bit. You know, I like this microphone that I have right now, but there is one thing about it. I do sincerely wish that it had a mute button, because then I could mute and keep going and do what I'm going to pause to do right now. Okay. Alrighty. Pardon the interruption, but sometimes it just won't wait. Yeah. Fortunately, I'm not coughing quite as much as I was a couple of days ago, so that's good. And I look forward to getting to a point where I don't spend any time per day coughing, as opposed to the amount of time that I spend in the last week or so coughing. All right, I'm back, and now I can go ahead and get my hidey hole dug. Because, yeah, the sun's getting perilously low on the horizon. Go one more back. All right, get this thing cleared out so that those torches I planted will actually be useful. All right. I love the old sounds. All right, break this up. Okay. Plant the bed. And get 3 more made. Okay, how about 2 more boats? Okay, collect this. Try to throw away some junk. Well, I don't really have a whole lot of junk to throw out. All right, well, I think that's going to be it for this episode. And thanks for all the questions. Please keep them coming. And we'll do this again, hopefully soon. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I am out of here.